Hello, everybody. Of course, welcome back to another episode of XtalknIsh with your boy X.
And this.
You already know what to do. If you are on Facebook, please make sure you like and share this broadcast. If you are on our Facebook page, go ahead and hit that like button. As well, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can be notified for shows like this one in the future.
Ding.
Thank you for that, Ish. And as well, check us out on X, Twitter, and also, of course, on the streaming platform that they have there, which is Periscope. And you can check out all our shows on X Talking Ish and on my personal page at X_Williams81. I went ahead and retweeted that. So there are no excuses on why you cannot check us out for tonight. So, as always, we're back once again on a Tuesday recapping the week of the NFL. Tonight's a very special night because it's not just week 9 recap show. It's also the midseason awards. So we, of course, will be giving out some awards tonight. We'll also, of course, review about 5 or 6 different games and obviously talk about what's going on within the game. And also some of the games we're going to be talking about is the after effect of the game when it comes to players, coaches. It's a lot going on in the NFL. We're obviously only halfway through, and we still got a second half of the season to play, and it only gets even more intriguing, and even more injuries will come to play. Just the nature of the beast when it comes to being in this type of industry. So, with that being said, before we do get into the midseason awards, don't forget we are giving away mini helmet at the end of the season. So make sure you pay attention here to X Talking Ish because I am presenting questions throughout the season to see if any of you guys know your football as well as Ish and I know our football. So let's go ahead and get into the thick of things. And I know everybody isn't on just yet, so I'll wait a little bit before we get into it. So before I do get into the awards, Ish, as always, let me check in on you, see how you doing. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm chilling, man. It's been a long week for me. A lot going on professionally and everything, but hey, we here, we moving. How's it going for you, my brother?
If I'm being honest with you, besides the stress as always, not just from the kids and work, the stress of sports betting. The sports betting stuff is
Here you go with your parlays again.
man, these goddamn parlays be but now I'm at a point where it's just like honestly, I don't even care about winning. I'm just more so like I feel like it's like a game that I'm playing, like a computer game or like an app, and I want to beat the boss. You feel like I'm trying to beat this boss. Once I finally beat it, I feel like I could put the controller down. So until I beat this boss, X gonna throw out these damn parlays. So with that being said, I need my boy Aaron Scott from North Texas.
Here we go.
To drop this assist in overtime so you can help your boy out here with some.
Man, you relying on the assist in overtime.
One assist.
That tell you
just
how
need
rough
one.
it's been.
I just need one-ish. But we'll see how that all plays out. Anyways, let's go ahead. Like I said, let's get right into it. Mid-season awards. We are back once again. Let's go ahead and start it off with the MVP. At this moment, again, let everybody know the disclosure. This is the mid-season awards. This is not season. Obviously, things can change. We've seen it for the past couple of years since we've been doing this. Just because you were named something in mid-season doesn't mean that you were going to be named it at the end of the season.
Not at all.
For right now, and like we want to throw a disclaimer out there for everybody that tunes in, we do not see each other's answers until probably about a couple minutes before we get onto the show. Yep. So some of these answers are the same. Some of them are not. Ish will see my answers for the first time, and I'm pretty sure some of my answers might surprise him. But we'll go ahead and get right to the thick of things. So the mid-season MVP award for Ish and I'll start it off with Jared Goff. Again, not sexy. It's easy to make the face. It's perfectly fine. Anybody that wants to get on here and disagree, you can more than welcome to do so. But the way I look at Jared Goff, and the way not even look at Jared Goff. The way I look at the MVP award is, if I take you off of that team, how does your team perform without you? Right? That's how I look at it. And for Jared Goff, I was speaking about this whole situation when I was at the barbershop over the weekend. it's when we go back to the trade, right, and we analyze the trade, we all thought that the Lions got fleeced, right? Everybody thought, oh wow, Jared Goff going to the Lions, he's going to be a bridge quarterback for the next quarterback that's going to come there, and the Rams got a steal. Well, I mean, years later, and we look at this trade. Don't get me wrong. The Rams got their Super Bowl out of Matt Stafford. The Rams got their part of the deal, right? But the Lions also got somebody that they haven't had in a very long time, and I'm looking at Matt Stafford at that as well too. And that's a winner. That's a winner. That's a guy that's been there before, and you can easily say that he was a part of a system. That's perfectly fine. You can say that he probably didn't deserve to be there or whatever you want to say about Jared Goff. But if you go look at his numbers alone, his numbers have gotten better with the Detroit Lions. And that's something very, very rare to say for any quarterback going from the previous team to the Detroit Lions, to say that your numbers have gotten better, right? So again, if I take him off of the Lions, are they where they're at right now at this part of the season? I highly doubt it. I know that, again, this is not a sexy choice. It's easy to throw guys out there like a Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown. It's easy to throw guys out like that. But I think that we are also forgetting about a guy like Jared Goff, who pretty much had to reinvent himself and pretty much show everybody once again that he belongs in this league and also belongs as I put him as easily a top 10 quarterback in the NFL ish.
See, the problem with your logic and honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and poke fun at myself also while doing this. The problem with your logic is there are a couple of guys around the league that if you remove them from their team probably isn't where they are currently, right? And that's the problem I have with this award. That's why I don't even like picking this award, because I think this award is by far one of the most subjective, weirdly, like, we're gonna choose one position and the quarterback is gonna be the guy that we're gonna choose, because it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, yeah, clearly the quarterback is the most valuable player on their team if they are a team competing for the Super Bowl, but at the same time, like, we should be able to look at other positions like a Christian McCaffrey, like a Tyreek Hill, and say those guys deserve to win the MVP award just as much as anybody else. But obviously, because it's a quarterback award and we know a quarterback's going to win this award, I'm going to give it to Pat Mahomes. Because if we're following your logic, if we remove Pat Mahomes from the Chiefs are not where they are today. So Pat Mahomes is going to go ahead and win this one for now. I also thought about giving it to Lamar Jackson. I thought Lamar Jackson has played well enough so far in the first half of the season. The Ravens are in a good spot where they are right now in the season, in the standings, that I think, Lamar has a shout for it. So honestly speaking, I just don't like this award. I don't like having to choose this award because I think that it's not, we're not necessarily giving it to the most valuable player. We're giving it to what quarterback we think we want to give it to that year.
I understand your logic. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I also will say this quarterback that I'm picking did beat the team that you're talking about, and the quarterback that you're putting up
Nobody
for
gives
MVP.
a damn if they beat them or not.
Mid-season award, baby. Mid-season award. I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, last time I checked, they still got 2 losses.
Look, I honestly wanted to really put A.J. Brown as MVP. That's really who I wanted to put as the MVP. But I'm just looking at what Jared Goff has been able to do, obviously, from last year, this season, the way that they have this Lions team forming. And I just think in the second half, Jared Goff and this team, for their sake, hopefully can continue this run, can get better, continue to stay healthy, and who knows, maybe this Lions team can end up in the NFC Conference Championship game. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the offensive player of the midseason. Ish, I'll let you start off with yours first.
Yeah, it's got to be Tyreek Hill. I mean, just look at what he's doing right now. Look at the pace that he's setting. I mean, this kind of pace hasn't been seen at this position. So we look at what he's done for Miami and what he does week in and week out. I understand the Christian McCaffrey shout. But I would argue that Christian McCaffrey is playing in a position where we often see many people succeed in this position. Also, if you look at Christian McCaffrey and you look at another player like Alvin Kamara, um, other players like that in that position, I mean, I don't feel like he's doing anything too special at the position, like what we're talking about with Tyreek Hill and a historic season at that. So I think just off the fact that this could be historically the best season of a wide receiver in the history of the NFL. Forget all the other they never used to throw the ball the same way and all that other stuff. Like, yes, we know that the game has evolved, it's changed, but still, this is a historic season. I think he's got to win it hands down.
Understandable. I'm gonna get to the comment section right quick. Coach T said Christian McCaffrey for his MVP. He also says Tyreek Hill for his offensive player of the midseason. I got to go with CMC for, of course, the 49ers, just due to the way that he started off this season, especially, I think it was 14 games in a row at one point in time with scoring a touchdown. I do understand when what you're saying when it comes to Tyreek Hill, what he's doing, but right behind him, just a couple of yards behind, is AJ Brown. So it's not like Tyree Hill has this 500-yard gap in front of the next wide receiver. I mean, AJ Brown is literally just right there creeping. CMC for myself, I feel like CMC is what makes that 49ers offense go besides Debo Samuel. And I'm again CMC, just like what Coach T just talked about. He usually could be in that conversation for MVP as well, too, because of how valuable he is to that offense. Now, obviously, we've seen the 49er offense get to the Super Bowl without CMC, right? But adding him to the mix opens up so many things for that offense and obviously make Brock Purdy, let's be honest, make him look a little bit better than what he is. But overall, both I think are great choices. We're obviously missing AJ Brown, Patrick Mahomes, why not, and a couple other guys. But again, first 9 weeks of the season, things will change. We'll see what happens moving forward. Let's get to defensive player of the midseason. Ish and I are in agreement when it comes to Myles Garrett. I think there were a couple of other candidates that easily could be up here as well too. But for right now, I mean, I think we're witnessing something with Myles Garrett that we're taking for granted. What he's been able to do the last couple of years, especially on the defensive line side of things. Myles Garrett is just he's a man child, right? I mean, he's one of those guys that physically you look at him, he's ridiculous, and the things that he can do athletic wise, from football, basketball, shit, maybe baseball, hockey, golf, tennis. I mean, throw him out there. He could probably play in pickleball. Myles Garrett is just he's him. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. It's Myles Garrett ish.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a difference maker. He's done so much for that Browns team at times. I mean, he's kind of carried that defense on his back and really just wreaked havoc enough that they were able to cover up some of the other holes that they've had and even win games with PJ Walker starting at quarterback for them. So when you look at it in its entirety and the impact that he has, yeah, it's got to be Myles Garrett right now.
And of course, as everybody saw, Coach T is in agreement as well when it comes to Myles Garrett being that guy. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Coach of the midseason. I have Mike Tomlin. Ish has Dan Campbell, and it looks like Ish doesn't care for my pick, and that's perfectly fine. But I'll throw it over the Ish and let him take it from there.
Yeah, I mean it's Dan Campbell. You always you've been on here for the past couple weeks tooting the horn of the Lions. You said at one, I think you tweeted out last week or the week before, like, hey, we talking about the Eagles and whoever else we need to start talking about the Lions to win the NFC. And I was just like, yo, that's crazy. I don't know about that yet. But I will say this: while I do give them a hard time, I think it's got to be Dan Campbell. What he's been able to do with the Lions this year and just continuing to build on what they've started to build. I would argue that he is the reason why we look at the trade that they had with the Rams and we say, hey, they didn't actually lose this trade. I wouldn't necessarily say they won, or maybe I'll say they both won, right?
They both won, which is
they
very
both
rare.
won in a way, right? And I think that's fair to say if you want to say that. But I think Dan Campbell has a lot to say for being the cause of us saying they both won because of what he's done with Jared Goff, what he's been able to do with that team, what they've been able to do with the draft picks that they got. I mean, we talked about it at the time of the trade. Time would tell, right? Time would tell. When you get draft picks in return for a player, it's always what do you do with those draft picks? How do you make those draft picks work? How do they fit into your team and go on to impact your team? And I think that the Lions have done a great job, and they're in a good spot right now. So I think Dan Campbell has to be the guy. I don't see that Mike Tomlin nonsense, Brad. The Steelers are a hot mess. I don't know why you got Mike Tomlin up there.
I'm happy that you're literally making my argument for me.
Go ahead.
You're making my argument for me. And again, it's easy for I respect everybody's opinion when it comes to this. This is coach of the midseason, not coach of the year, coach of the midseason. At this point, the Steelers are 5-3 in a division that they should be easily 3-5 or maybe even 2-6, right? Let's be real. Let's all think about this. We all play football. We all watch football. The Steelers are not a good team. The Steelers have been outgained and outscored in every game that they've been in, and they have a winning record. That's
Lamar
my point.
Jackson gave them a game. Get me me with that, bro.
Okay, and they still beat the Browns. They beat the Browns in week 2.
Oh my God.
You can roll your eyes all you want to. The Browns are 5-3 as well. I'll give you another factoid. They are 2-0 in the division.
It really, again, Lamar gave them a game.
Okay, but guess what? Like you just said in the couple previous topics, Lamar Jackson should be in the running for MVP. Okay, so we can't just throw up.
That is not just because he's in the running for MVP. That does not mean that he hasn't had.
You can't throw out all it is, and then just discredit about what the Steelers have been able to do, mainly because of Mike Tomlin.
Nah, bro. No.
Mike Tomlin being able to carry this raggedy ass ship to the finish line. This is the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria when it comes to these little raggedy ass boats swimming across the ocean blue and trying to get to America right now.
Listen, I'm all for Mike Tomlin and I love Mike Tomlin.
And I know we all do. I know we all do.
But here's the thing, no, I'm not for this.
And that's perfect. Again, that's perfectly fine. Even Adrian is the most critical about Mike Tomlin. I just got a text from about 30 minutes ago talking about the damn Steelers. And he'll be the first one to talk about how we need to get Mike Tomlin out of there, not because he's a bad person, a bad coach. It's just his voice is still in the locker room. And that's understandable. I would love to have Mike Tomlin as a Tennessee Titans coach. I would get Mike Vrabel the hell up out of there and let him go to New England and go be the successor of Bill Belichick and have Mike Tomlin come be the coach for the Tennessee Titans. Probably not going to happen. I'm just saying that's wishful thinking for myself. But at this point, week 9, if you look at the Steelers, they should not be in this position that they are in right now. That's why I have to give credit to the coach, even with a shitty-ass offensive coordinator, with a subpar quarterback, with virtually no running game, the defense and Mike Tomlin have been able to steady this ship and get them to where they are right now. Now, when the season's over with, I agree, Dan Campbell most likely will be coach of the year. But right now, I'm just throwing it out there because let's be honest too. We don't know about this Lions team. We don't know if they're going to collapse in the second half of the season. They shouldn't because their schedule is very favorable. But if I brought this up to Steelers fans, what happens if the Steelers are able to find a way to get themselves not just to a playoffs, but AFC Conference Championship game appearance, which I don't believe it will happen. I don't think it will happen. But if they do, for whatever reason, a lot of people keep just disrespecting Mike Tomlin and his tenure as a head coach.
Disrespect to Mike Tomlin.
No, there is a lot of people that disrespect him when it comes to him just being a coach manager, just somebody just out there just hanging out, glasses on, chilling, not really doing anything. But that's just not necessarily the case at all. And if Mike Tomlin is able to do what he's been doing, which is obviously above a 500 record and get them to the playoffs, You gotta put some respect back on Mike T's name. That's all. I respect Coach T and what he's talking about when it comes to Dan Campbell completely turning around the Lions organization. I got that, but the Lions, they still got to prove it to everybody when it comes to start off with winning the division first. Let's finish the season out. Let's win a division, host a playoff game, win a playoff game, and then we can actually start taking them a little more seriously when it comes to what they can do. I'll leave it at that. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the offensive rookie of the midseason, and I'm pretty sure this really is no surprise by anybody. Now, there are still some other candidates out there for some really, really good rookies out there that are playing well, but there's a guy out here right now that's just outperforming everybody. And, of course, the performance that he put out there on Sunday, which we'll get into very, very shortly, that, for me, just put him head over heels when it comes to the offensive rookie of the midseason. Ish, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. The numbers he's putting up and the position he plays is going to lead to him winning this award if he continues this to the second half of the season, right? Like, you can't look at what CJ Stroud is doing, considering he is a quarterback in this league, and having the Texans at 4-4. They are very much in the thick of the wild card race in the AFC. They even still could potentially win the AFC South, be in the thick of that, because let's not forget, they went to Jacksonville and they gave Jacksonville a hell of a time. So, and Jacksonville is still not 100% all the way there. They're still not consistent. So we don't know what the second half of the season, may hold for us, but definitely CJ Stroud head and shoulders above the rest of the rookie quarterbacks so far that play. I mean, although let me not take anything away from Anthony Richardson, because he didn't get to play very much. He looked good when he was on the field, but this may be the story of his career. We hope not, but the best ability is availability.
We can't judge you if you ain't on the field. I'm honestly surprised you didn't bring up your boy Will Levis.
He was just named the starter. Hey man, he only played a little bit. Give him some time. He might actually win this award. He might sneak through and lead the Titans to win the AFC South. I mean, he was just named starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Oilers are now, they got their guy. This is their man moving forward. Their new Marcus Mariota, their new Vince Young.
I'm trying to figure out who you're talking to, because I'm not boo boo. I'm not boo boo the fool, okay?
About?
Because you talking real silly right now.
Oh man, come on, silly. Come on, you gotta trust in your man. Will gonna get y'all to the promised land. He's the guy moving forward. I don't know why you're doing that. That is your man. He is the man moving forward. He gonna give CJ a run for his money for this award.
Okay. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'll wait until we talk about the Texans game a little bit. That's just a foreshadowing what we'll talk about shortly. Let me go ahead and finish this up with the defensive rookie of the midseason. And I'll start off with mine, because when Ish told me about Jalen Carter, I feel like that is the easy answer. It's easy to throw out Jalen Carter.
Duh.
Right? I mean, he probably could win it. He probably should. But what Devin Witherspoon is doing in Seattle, being the complimentary corner alongside with Jesus, I can't remember his name right now. Please help me out, Ish. Your boy. Come on, break it up. It's all good. Anyways, pretty much Seattle is trying to reinvent LOB 2.0. And Devin Witherspoon seems as though that he doesn't just play corner, he also plays hit stick. And if you look at some of the hits that he's been able to put out so far, you would think that he's a linebacker, not a cornerback. And overall, again, with the way that the Seattle team is playing, I think he really could be the next Richard Sherman. I mean, if he really put his work ethic into play, and these Seattle legends are able to come back and assist when it comes to giving some guys some pointers or whatnot. Maybe not Earl Thomas, because Earl Thomas got some other personal issues you have to deal with. If you don't know about that, just scroll on social media and you'll see in a little bit. But I like what Devin Witherspoon is doing. I like what Jalen Carter is doing. But for me, again, I wanted to switch it up. I didn't want it to be just so easy and just say Jalen Carter. Most likely, again, Jalen Carter might win this thing at the end of the year, but for the midseason award, I'll take him right now.
Yeah, it's got to be Jalen Carter. I mean, just the impact that he has. I mean, it's similar to Myles Garrett. The impact he has when he's on the field, what he's been able to do, not only himself, but just for his teammates. He doesn't necessarily get all of the statistics because, I mean, it's not that he's getting all the sacks on the team or anything, but just the pressures alone, the double teams he commands. It's got to be Jalen Carter. He's stepped into that line, which – I mean, it's not like they were bad to begin with, and he's only made them even better. I get what you're saying about Witherspoon and Woolen.
Woolen, there we go. Tyreek Woolen. Thank you.
They are a duo to be seen, and a duo to be reckoned with. But at the same time, I just can't overlook what Jalen Carter's been able to do in Philly.
Completely understand. Coach T says Witherspoon would be his non-Eagles pick. So, again, it is what it is. It's the midseason. Things will change towards the end of the season. We'll see if some of these names stay on this list towards the end of the season. I'm pretty sure guys like a Tyreek Hill, Patty Mahomes, Myles Garrett, Dan Campbell, will obviously C.J. Stroud when it comes off his rookie of the year. They'll be there towards the end. But, of course, we'll see how this all play out. So, I want to start off with probably the game of the weekend, which – a lot of people, when you first looked at the game, you probably assumed that this was probably going to be a stinker or just a average game, and it really turned out to be maybe the game of the weekend. Again, depending on how you look at this weekend, and I'm just going back up and that game and probably the Vikings and Falcons game. Again, we'll talk about that shortly as well too. Coming into this game into week 9, a lot of people assumed that the Dolphins-Chiefs game in Germany would be the game that everybody needs to watch out for, but
it was a good game.
It was again depending on how you look at it, because I think some people wanted more points, but
of course,
this game here, this might be the game that 3 years from now, when the Texans might be hosting the Lombardi Trophy, you might look back on and say this was the game that started everything for C.J. Stroud and Houston Texans. Yes, obviously I'm a Titans fan. Yes, obviously I don't really care for the Texans, but like you say all the time, Ish, here we're here in Houston. We obviously have our ears to the streets when it comes to what goes on here, and to see the buzz, to see the energy, to see the dynamic that the Texans have been able to change here in Houston, it's very it's pretty amazing, honestly. I mean, we've grown up with this team since we were in middle school when this team started. Majority of our upbringing, the Texans really have not been good. There've been a couple of years here and there where they have been good and won a division, won a playoff game. But they have an opportunity-ish to where this might be the best era of Texan football moving forward, with a solid head coach, a solid franchise quarterback. Again, the defense, I think obviously you'll continue to add more pieces, especially with a defensive-minded coach like D'Amico Ryans. There'll be defensive players that will want to play there in Houston. And then on the opposite side of the ball as well, too, there are going to be some wide receivers that are going to say, hey, I want to come and play with C.J. Stroud because he's a good quarterback. And also I get to live in the city of Houston, where if you've never been to Houston before, it's a very underrated city when it comes to, we have everything that you want here. I mean, it's from the food to the
income tax.
There you go. From the food to the nightlife to obviously to, for the young folks out there, for the women and all that good stuff, they got it out here for you. So if you are somebody that's looking into where my next destination might be, and I think the number one wide receiver on that list that a lot of teams are looking at is T. Higgins for next season. T. Higgins, I think, will be in a bidding war between really the Texans and the Titans, at least top two, because both of these teams will need a number one moving forward. No disrespect to Nico Collins and no disrespect to Tank Dell, but I think they're complementary wide receivers for a number one. And if you bring somebody in like a T. Higgins for the Texans, I think that elevates your offense even more to where, again, you get another running back in there as well, too. I mean, and also obviously you keep on beefing up this offensive line, the Texans can really, I think, find a way back into not just the playoffs, but really making folks look at them the way that they did at one point in time with Watson at the helm. I can go on and on about CJ Stroud's performance. I'm impressed. Of course, we know about the history of Ohio State quarterbacks in the league, and it's unfortunate. No, I'm just it is what it is. It's just unfortunately been a bad just situation for Ohio State quarterbacks. But I think, and I know everybody's going to talk down on Justin Fields, but I think Justin Fields was the first to kind of break the mold. We'll see what happens, moving forward with his career. Now you have CJ Stroud right behind him, to where some people are already just have amnesia and just forgot about how bad these Ohio State quarterbacks were in the past. And it kind of reminds me of like Duke players in the NBA. I remember my dad used to talk down on Duke players when they get to the NBA because they didn't amount to anything. You look at the last 10 years now with these Duke players in the league now, that's not really necessarily the case. Could this be a change of the guard when it comes to Ohio State quarterbacks now? I don't know just yet, but it's very refreshing to see a guy like CJ Stroud obviously represent his faith, represent his family, and also be a leader in this locker room and be one of not just the guys, but be the guy to let everybody know that I got you, right? Well, before he even got into the facility, he said he wanted all his guys to come over and come and eat, hang out, this, that, and the third. That's leadership quality, things that you just can't teach. That's just things that he had been able to establish in himself, right? Maybe dating back since middle school or high school. And again, for the Texans and Texan fan base, I will say enjoy this time, but let's be realistic when it comes to, let's not throw out, hey, he's going to be there for 10 years. Hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl. Hey, we're going to do this, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought that during the Watson era, and we saw how that all played out. Again, not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying nothing is guaranteed.
That's not what you really want to say.
Not really.
That's not what you really want to say. You really want to say
what?
You really want to say enjoy it, because Will Levis and the Oilers are coming.
Really.
Don't.
Why do you think that I like Will Levis? I don't care for Will Levis. I want a new quarterback. I want a quarterback coming from the draft. That's what I want. I don't care for Will Levis. No, you're not going to do that to me. No.
We all know what you're talking about, man. We know you talking about Will Levis and the Tennessee Oilers coming to Houston and whooping on some booty and winning the AFC South again. We know what you want deep down in your heart.
I want a new quarterback.
Okay, let's stop this.
I felt the same way with Tannehill when Tannehill took over. Tannehill was a mediocre quarterback, and he's proven that.
Y'all ignore this man. Don't listen to
ignore you, sir. Everybody boo this man.
Because in 2 weeks, he gonna be here on the show singing Will Levis's praises and talking about how this the guy we needed all along and all of that. So
okay, whatever. Anyway, shout out to Kobe G tuning into the broadcast. He says, I remember when people wanted to stay away because of O'Brien. Seems like people will want to play here in the future. Good thing going right now. And I 100% agree. I mean, again, at that point in time, when it comes to, let's just be real, started really back with the Bob McNair with the comments about, not letting the inmates run the asylum.
Man.
It really started off with that. And then it kind of trickled over to everything else that was going on. Of course, Deshaun Watson, and it was just a bad taste. It was just a bad situation going on here in Houston. And just like that, right? I say it all the time. In 1 year, we saw what the Bengals, right? We saw what they were able to do with Joe Burrow and the crew.
Yep.
It can take a year or even two to be able to completely change your organization. We're talking about it with Dan Campbell and the Lions.
Yep.
I think now, more so than ever in the NFL, you don't have to wait 3, 4, 5 years to rebuild. It can take 2 years.
It just takes the right hire and the right quarterback. Right hire and the right quarterback.
100% agree. You have anything to say about this topic before we move on, sir?
Man, just that. The only thing I want to say about this is that last drive. If you didn't think here in Houston that CJ Stroud was that guy, that he had that special thing that some of these quarterbacks have. That last drive should have told you everything you need to do, because the poise, the confidence, just the swag that he had going into that last drive. There's a lot of times where a quarterback gets in that situation and you think to yourself like, man, I don't know. It's not a lot of time. I don't know how they do this. And it just seemed like the way he had played up to that point, I actually thought about it, and I thought to myself like, bro, they can find a way to, drive down the field and do something. And once they hit he hit the first pass, and I was like,
oh, yeah, I said the same thing.
Whoa,
like, okay. Kept on driving. I was like, they might actually pull this off.
Man,
this is a good Tampa Bay defense too. This is not a slouchy defense. So, hey, again, all kudos to G.J. Stroud and the Texans on that one. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to talk about this game very briefly, just because of everything that went on and transpired in this game. And again, another game that I talked about on Sunday. Like, ew, nobody really wants to pay attention to this game. Boy, was I wrong. If you have NFL Red Zone, I'm not going to be a sponsor for it, but shout out to myself for having it, because I was enjoying my damn self watching these two games at the same time, pretty much go about the game-winning drives almost the exact same way. It was wild watching these two games in that 12 o'clock slot if you're Central Standard Time, and to see Joshua Dobbs, he wasn't even starting in this game. He came in because the starter got hurt. Didn't have any type of reps with the center. They showed a video
teaching them the snap
cadence.
Count. Yeah,
he was cadence. For the people that don't understand this, and I hope my boy Kobe G is still on this broadcast. Kobe used to play quarterback. If you don't understand what a cadence is, and you don't understand being able to have familiarity with a center, this is a real thing. It's kind of easier to do it when you're in a shotgun, but if you have to be up under a center's butt, all of that is about timing, is about comfortability. It is a very serious thing. If you cannot snap the ball, you cannot run an offense. Plain and simple. And to see these guys do this, and it wasn't just Josh Dobbs. You had a guy like David Quisenberry on the offensive line. It was his first game as well, too. Played every snap. This Vikings team it was wild. The epitome of resilience.
Cam Akers tore his Achilles.
Again.
Achilles,
like, I mean, Jesus, to see the Vikings find ways to continue to win, you have to tip your hat off to those guys. I mean, they probably honestly won't make the playoffs this year, but what a hell of a story! What a hell of a performance! I think the Vikings for the coach for Coach O'Connell, they get a mulligan this year, obviously, because of Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins moves on and he goes somewhere else. And I think for next year, they try to figure out, okay, how can we get the best or the most out of the group that we have here? Because we see it time and time again with the Vikings. They have all this talent dating back, all the way back to the Purple People Eaters, dating back to the 2000s with Randy Moss and Chris Carter, Dante Culpepper, the Adrian Peterson days. They've always had talent. They've always find ways to get themselves to the playoffs. They just can't finish the job. I don't know if that's going to happen with this crew here. I don't know if O'Connell is the right coach for this team moving forward. That's really not, for me to say yay or nay to, but moving forward, they have a lot of questions to address in the offseason, obviously with the quarterback position, because the quarterbacks they have on the roster right now are not it. And then also some of the holes that they have on the offensive side of the ball, the defense for it is what it is. It's mediocre. It's been mediocre. They have some time periods where they look good, and then most of the time they just look blah. Ish.
The main thing I took from this one was that Josh Dobbs, like, what a story this year has been for him to, get traded to Arizona. Everybody thought like, he going over there so they can tank, and for him to go out there and win, initially, and he play as well as he did, then get traded to Minnesota.
That's why he got traded.
Win this game.
That's why he got traded, because he was playing so well for Arizona. Like, hey, we got to stop that.
Yeah, he did it for him. So, That was a big thing. I'm not giving them a pass. You over here giving passes out like you a damn teacher with a hall pass. But yeah, no, I'm not giving any passes out. No pass for me, Mr. O'Connell. You can go because I don't care what the situation was. The Vikings weren't supposed to be this bad. This was supposed to be a good year for them to compete with Detroit to fully dethrone Green Bay and just take over this division. And yeah, no, mm-mm, mm-mm. It had to be somewhat competitive. They have O'Connell got to go. Get him up out of there.
As y'all can hear, Ish is playing no games when it comes to some of these coaches.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Since Ish ain't playing no games, let's go ahead and throw it right to the Giants and the Raiders. You got one team that's probably playing no more games this season because their team is pretty just disappointing. And you have another team who might want to play a lot more games for this new coach that they have for the Raiders, Mr. Antonio Pierce. We'll get to that shortly. I'll throw this all the way back to my guy Ish here. I don't want you to just, I know you wasn't shedding any tears when Daniel Jones went down, but just tell me your thoughts on how you feel about Daniel Jones, his Giants team, and everything that's been transpiring so far.
Yeah, they just gotta. Just pack it in. Go ahead, pack it in. Pack it in. You gotta figure it out. There are gonna be some tough conversations during, probably already ongoing, right? Because we already looking towards the draft. If you the New York Giants, and you just signed Daniel Jones to a long-term contract. You can't really get out of that contract right now. And then, unfortunately, this would be the year if you wanted to get out of that. Go draft a quarterback. This would be the year. So I don't know what the plan is going to be because they're going to be up there high enough that they could get a really good impact quarterback. But the problem that they have is Daniel Jones is not the problem. I've been trying to tell people for a long time. Danny Dimes is not the problem. All right.
New York ain't the solution.
He's not. Well, he might not be the solution either. And New York has got a lot more issues going on over there, and they need to figure it out. Brian Dable was looking good last year. Now you're looking like Boo Boo the Fool. Okay, he's got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. And we're gonna see what they're gonna do because the rest of this season is gonna tell a lot about whether or not he starts the season on the hot seat.
Yeah, I'm not going to rub it in on you and none of that stuff like that. Daniel Jones is who I always knew and thought Daniel Jones would be, just a mediocre quarterback that's good for the Giants, and that's fine.
Shut it up.
With this injury, no disrespect to Daniel Jones, but is he going to be a guy that's going to be able to get better from this injury and play even better? Because again, we've seen how some players will come back from injuries and that allows them to play better because of just the injury, give them motivation to come back and this, that, and the third. Again, just looking at Daniel Jones, obviously, I think the reason why the Giants like him is because they kind of remind him of Eli, just without the accolades and the moxie that Eli brought to the New York football team. Like you said, there's going to be a lot of tough questions that they're going to have to address moving forward. And let's be honest, New York really hasn't been the same since Tom Coughlin has left. This organization has been downright just disgusting the way that they've gone about this organization. Now, there was a shining light at one point in time, obviously, with Odell Beckham Jr. and him doing the things that he was doing there. And, obviously that was a very short period. And now it's just that it seems like everything has kind of crumbled ever since that boat picture. Everybody remember the boat picture with Odell Beckham and Sterling Shepard and all them other cats and whatnot. They have not been the same since that picture. Mm-hmm. And it's just mind-blowing to see a legacy organization like the Giants and the Patriots and again, we'll talk about them shortly, just looking like poo cheese. For the Raiders, they were looking like poo cheese at one point in time too this season with Josh McDaniels. Now been able to give the reins to a guy who actually knows what the hell they're doing, Antonio Pierce. If anybody have not heard about the backstory of just players only meeting and the situation that happened. Apparently, Josh McDaniels wanted Antonio Pierce to talk to the team for him. So he brought up a story about how when he played for the Giants and they played against the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, and he pretty much told them that the Giants team didn't give a damn about who they played against. We're going to go ahead, strap it up, and beat that ass. Apparently, Josh McDaniels pulled him to the side and said, "Don't you dare talk about the Patriots like that." Now, when I heard this story, when I read this story, I swear to God, Ish, I thought this was fake. I swear to God, I was like, "Ain't no way in hell this story is real."
It's
because it sound like some satire ass shit.
Nah, it's
you
clear.
telling me you that sensitive about your motherfucking team that you gonna pull Antonio Pierce aside and be like, don't you dare talk about the New England.
Don't talk about my dad's team like that.
Talk about my father like that. Okay, how dare you? That one loss, it hurts us until this day. 2007, I still remember it like it was yesterday. If that's the case, get the hell out of here, Josh McDaniels.
Well,
if that's how you feel, get the hell out of here. And for the first time in a very long time, the Raiders finally did something right.
Except for they're going to follow it up by doing something.
Exactly.
They don't follow it up by doing,
and that's what I already stated earlier in the week when it comes to, are the Raiders going to be the Raiders once again and say, you know what? Damn, Antonio Pierce, he seems like a good coach. Oh, well, let's go ahead and get somebody else. Yes. Are you going to do that? Or are you actually going to allow this guy to, figure out how to be a head coach? Because everybody has to figure out how to be something in a new position, because everybody hasn't been Ish. You've never been a scrum master before until you've been a scrum master. You have to learn this shit on your own. I've never been help desk technician until I became a help desk technician. I had to learn this shit. It's hard to tell somebody, oh, you can't do A, B, and C because you have the experience, but nobody wants to give you the experience to do it. So Antonio Pierce has an opportunity right now for the remainder of the season to showcase his head coaching experience and to see if he can be a candidate to either have to interview once again to maybe become the head coach, because at the moment he's the intern, not the head coach. Or if Mike Davis says, you know what, I'm going to drop the intern and you are the head coach now without doing the process. Now, they might have to still go through a process, obviously, because of Rooney Rule and all that, all that fun stuff and whatnot. But we've already seen in the past, even with the Rooney Rule in place, folks hiring folks without having to go through the process. Mm-hmm. If this is one of those situations, great. If it happens for Antonio Pierce, great. It'd be interesting to see how this all plays out. Remember, he's a guy that's from Compton, watched the Raiders grew up watching the Raiders in Oakland. It seems like if he didn't play for the Giants, he would have found a way to maybe play for the Raiders back in the day. And maybe this is what the Raiders needed. Right, same way with the Texans needed C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. Like sometimes, to get better, you need to maybe shake things up a little bit, and maybe this is what needed to happen for the Vegas Raiders. Is anything about that before we move on?
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
I don't want to say you're right, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Cowboys and Eagles game now. Of course, if you watch this game, depending on who you are, which side of the ball, I saw a lot of Cowboy fans. This was the week prior. This wasn't even on a Friday, Saturday, or even a Sunday. I saw a lot of Cowboy fans talking about how they were going to beat the Eagles this upcoming week. These Cowboy fan base, folks were very quick to talk about how we're going to beat the Eagles. This, that, and the third, they don't play anybody, blah, 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 right? Well, we all saw that didn't happen. So, of course, when that doesn't happen, what do Cowboy fans are quick to do? Oh, well, the refs. It was the refs' fault. The refs. Now, here's the thing. Most people that say that are people that play basketball and never played football before in their life. And I'm just going to keep it candid on here because I'm going to let y'all know right now. Anybody listening to this, I hope Travis Crow on here. I hope you on here, Ish. Anybody that went to Langham Creek. I'm letting everybody know right now. Let Jesse Baines know to shut the hell up. You sound like a crybaby little ass biatch. I'm just keeping it honest. Again, if everybody want to ride for their damn team, let's be realistic because there's a lot of delusional ass people out here when it comes to running rep their team. Let's be realistic. You had the ball on the 5-yard line. You had the ball on the 5-yard line.
and you found a way to not score a touchdown. You had an opportunity on 4th down. Guess what? Caught the ball, got tackled on the half-yard line, didn't win the game. So with that being said, you could say the refs this, the refs that. The Eagles paid the refs this, that, and the third. Let's in the words of Cam Newton, let's keep it funky. Anytime y'all have a big game performance, y'all find a way to fall short. Either in the playoffs against the 49ers, maybe against the Eagles in divisional games, or against whoever, you find ways to fall short. So let's stop finding ways to make excuses, and let's find ways to execute and win a game. Because with Dak Prescott, and I've already spoke about this already, this is the best you're going to get from Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott there will not be another level for Dak Prescott. This is it. This is all. So if Cowboy fans think that he's going to get better all of a sudden, it ain't going to happen. So right now, Cowboy fans can say, "Oh, we'll beat him next time, or we'll give him in the playoffs." No, you won't. No, you won't, because you haven't done so in the last 5 years. So I'm tired of listening to this crap. I'm tired of seeing the same crap over and over again. So for the Cowboys and the Cowboy fan base, shut the hell up. Plain and simple. Big X, he said, you still have that football fire in you. Yeah. We'll talk about that another day, Big X. Yeah, anyways, Ish, take it from me because I'm about to fire myself up.
So, I mean, what I'm going to say about this game, I hold the same thought for the Dolphins in the Chiefs game. This is a measuring stick game. This is a chance, an opportunity for you. They always say to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? This is the best in the NFC from last year. They've showed it so far this year. This is the best. Y'all doing all that talking. Y'all said y'all ready. Y'all are going to compete for the championship, whatever.
Like a parson on this stupid-ass podcast.
Here it is. Y'all did all that talking after San Francisco about, what we're going to see him again. We're going to see him again.
They said, fuck Dallas on the shirt. Oh, my feelings.
Listen, you don't get to see San Francisco again if you can't get through Philly, okay? And you don't get to go to a Super Bowl if you can't beat San Francisco or Philly, which you lost to both. So you got to figure it out. I get it. It's the regular season. But at some point, you got to be able to beat these teams. Regardless, regular season, postseason, whenever, you've got to be able to beat these teams. I don't want to hear the excuses of the refs or this happened or that happened. You had a chance and you didn't convert. That's the game. That is the game. You had to convert, you didn't. Okay. Right now, you're not in the running. Like, let's just have that real talk conversation. You're just not in the running. Now, does that mean you can't find a way to figure it out before the end of the season and come playoff time? Maybe you can beat one of these teams. You can do it, but that takes being real with yourself and having the real tough conversations that y'all have got to figure something out. Because right now, y'all are going to continue to be a team that, yeah, you might make it to playoffs, but you're going to likely lose in the first round. Or you may make it to the second round, but you're not getting the conference championship game, and you damn sure not getting to a Super Bowl. So for the Cowboys, same goes for the Dolphins. Figure it out, because you had an opportunity to be the best. You got to beat the best, and you guys are just not doing it.
I completely agree. I'm going to leave that one alone so I can calm myself down, and I'll go ahead and segue right to who you just brought up with those Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs playing. And my friend here, my brother here, this is, if he wasn't living in America or Africa, he would be living in Germany. Want to know why? Because if you go look at his gamer tag, that is my boy, the German Brownie. The German Brownie out here once again. So I'll go ahead and let you have it. This is the reason why you learn Germany. Put some German to the folks out here. Show off your skill set. Let the folks know about some schnitzel and the Guttenheimen time and some delicious beer. Let us know.
Nah. Yeah, I was excited. Honestly speaking, I wanted to go to this game so bad, but we've got a lot going on over here that
Yeah, when you have kids, apparently we can't do that.
I couldn't just get up and go. But yeah, I mean, it was a good game depending on what you appreciate from the game.
What you deem as a good game.
Yeah, what you deem as a good game in your eyes. But I think it was a good game. It was very interesting to see. There was a lot of dynamic, a lot of talking points going on with Tyreek Hill playing against the Chiefs and everything over there, and just seeing how the Chiefs would handle this offense, which they were able to, to really slow them down. I don't think you ever really shut this offense down, but they were able to slow them down enough. Just 14 points, which is crazy to me. And the Chiefs did. It was a typical Chiefs, like they're going to do whatever they need to do to win the game. It doesn't necessarily look pretty. It's not that great. It's not something we're all jumping up and down like, oh, yeah, we're going back to the Super Bowl. But it is something that it's like, hey, they found a way to win. And just like I was just saying with, the Cowboys and the Dolphins, at some point, you got to find a way to win. You got to win these games, regardless of when it is. And the Chiefs, for some reason, they find a way, in these type of, contender games to win them. So overall, I was satisfied with it. Looking forward to just moving on to the next one.
I think the most intriguing thing about this win is that the defense played the way that they played, especially against a high-powered offense like this. The Dolphins, let's be real, before coming into this game, apparently they just don't play well against good teams. But it seems like we have this conversation with the Chiefs almost every year when it comes to their defense. Is their defense good enough? Is it going to step up? They've done it already in the past. Okay, so we got to stop asking these stupid ass questions. And it seems like they did it once again, like you said, slowing down this defense, only holding the Dolphins to 14 points. I mean, which is really unheard of. And like what you said with Tyreek Hill was doing a lot of talking, a lot of chirping before the game, talk about, hey, we can play this game wherever, and I'm gonna give you out his work. Didn't do that. Even with all of the plays to make sure Tyreek Hill was able to get the ball and not allow him to get jammed up at the line. The Chiefs did a hell of a job. That I don't know if you saw what I stated on Facebook after the game. I said that was a classic Steve Spagnuolo defensive game right there. So it's a reason why. Again, we know as football players that sometimes if being a head coach, you might not be successful. That's fine. But being a coordinator, some folks, that's their bread and butter. And for Spags, it's a reason why he's been in the league for a very, very long time, is because his defense is elite. And he proved it once again by taking care of the Miami Dolphins. And, at this moment, at the midway point, I'm off the Dolphins bandwagon. Like, I don't see them, even if they win the division, like I don't see anybody scared of them, because I think that a lot of teams are figuring them out, and they're able to stop this high power offense or contain this high power offense for the most part, to where if they can't get anything going within the passing game, will they actually lean on the run? I think they are doing that a little bit more this year. Obviously, Raheem Mostert, playing very, very well, but I'm afraid of the Dolphins, like the Bills. When things don't go right, let's just keep on throwing the ball. And that's just not winning football. All right, before we get out of here, I just want to talk about one more game before we get out of here, mainly because of both head coaches, Commanders and Patriots. I did pick the Patriots to win this game mainly because of you're at home, you're the Patriots, and you're supposed to win this game against the Commanders. No disrespect to the Commanders, but again, Bill Belichick, hey, get on your stuff, right? Seems like that didn't happen. Obviously, the Commanders won by 3, and there are some rumblings at the moment that maybe Robert Kraft fires Bill Belichick, not at the end of the season, but this season. I'm sorry, in the middle of the season, to where there's some talks going that if he does not win this upcoming game, he might be let go. That probably might be the most shocking news of this whole season if that happens, because we've talked about it on the shows dating back since last year that Bill Belichick might need to go ahead and step away, either go coach somewhere else or get into the front office. But we never thought that he was going to be the head coach for next year. And to have these rumblings coming out, and obviously the record is what it is, it's not getting any better for the Patriots. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Again, more rumors coming out that maybe Mike Vrabel could be the heir apparent for Bill Belichick. The Commanders, when it comes to Ron Rivera and their coaching situation, we all don't think that Ron Rivera is going to be there next year as well, too. So some of these organizations, like we say all the time in the offseason, they have a lot of questions to answer, and we'll see how both of these teams answer those questions, especially at the head coaching position. Ish, you have anything to say on the coaches or even the game?
Yeah, I got something to say. This was a good old Bill Belichick, get the hell up out of here. That's all it was for me. I picked the Patriots. The Patriots should have won this game. There's no excuse for the Patriots not winning this game at home. This was a good old-fashioned Bill Belichick. Go ahead and get the hell up out of here. Let's get you your termination papers.
Woo! It's that short and sweet. Go ahead and just exit stage left. Might have to pull the Jamal Adams on him and just stop the access speed and not allow him to get
code
in.
Not working anymore.
Woo! That's going to be very interesting. We'll see how this all plays out, of course, as always. We appreciate y'all for tuning in once again for our Week 9, a.k.a. the Midseason Awards show for tonight. Join us once again on Sunday for the pregame show. Now, if you weren't here last week, or I'm sorry, if you weren't here on Sunday, I will be in Denver on Sunday. So we will have a excuse me, you had to let a little bit of gas out there for me. But I will be in Denver on Sunday, so I will have a show on premise when it comes to a different location. So just bear with me when it comes to audio and visual. I don't know how I'm going to perform just yet, but we'll be here. We'll hopefully have a great show for you on Sunday and next Tuesday. If anything changes, of course, we'll let you guys know through the socials. But other than that, we appreciate y'all as always for tuning in. Make sure y'all join us on Sunday for the pregame show. Hope you have a great rest of your night.